Yes. So, as Pavel said, the basic rules are that you can have teams of maximum 5 people during our game jam, and then when you produce your game, you can continue developing that game on hackathon organized by Pavel. This is how our events are linked. But our quantum game jam is separate event from hackathon. So from our game jam, you will have only fun and your game started, and from hackathon you can actually get prizes to win. What else? You should be 18 years old to participate to hackathon due to prizes, but obviously in our event you can be however old you like. Yes, so these are basic rules for our events and we follow the same code of conduct.
Exactly. And again, thank you to Pavel, although he couldn't make it to the actual event, but thank you for the recording. And if any questions related to the hackathon, contact Pavel straight up, maybe. But now, in case you missed on our preparatory talks about what quantum physics or quantum computing is about, I will open something up a bit here. You can later check the recordings of the previous talks, but just to get you started on a selected few topics or recaps what was said, if it was maybe a bit fast. So, quantum physics is about the world at its tiniest scales. So, at the scales of small molecules, atoms, electrons, photons, that are the particles of light. Now, even that is quantum phenomena, that light consists of small quantities. Like, if you think about it, it is not just waves. And this kind of like brings us the concept of wave-particle duality. So, saying it really short is that quantum particles exhibit both their properties as waves and as particles. So like for example, energy from the sun comes in these small packages, photons, but photons then again are light waves, as you might have learned from basic optics in school physics. And we need to describe these objects by using both of these properties. And that is a really short introduction to it, but giving you kind of like wordings to this. So the next thing that you might hear when talking about quantum physics is the concept of superposition. What this means is that for these quantum mechanical objects, it is possible that they possess several spatial configurations. A fancy word saying that they can be at several places at once. Kind of like this, but even more sparsely, we like to think about it. Kind of like as a wave. And this is why we use a wave function to describe our quantum object. It describes the fundamental, statistical, and probabilistic nature of quantum physics, and describes the possibilities of the object being found from somewhere, basically. But also for other quantities, like the spin. So, particles have this concept of spin. It's an intrinsic form of angular momentum that is carried by elementary particles. It tells us which way and how strongly a particle is rotating or spinning, so to say, and it's heavily used on quantum computing for information processing in that sense. And although the name suggests spinning, I must note that's not exactly what happens at these scales, because these objects are mostly like almost point-like, but it's still a nice way to describe it, and it gives us a way to handle this quantity. So you might be able to change the magnitude and multitude of that, but the spin direction is best presented along the axis that it rotates around. So either up or down, kind of like 0 and 1 that we have on regular computers. But in a superposition, the object may be, in a way, both in these directions, but also at the same time something intrinsically more than just the spin up and the spin down. So not just up and down, but all the directions in between those ones, any direction on a sphere, basically. So this is why you might see the sphere every now and then like popping up when we're talking about quantum computing, for example. So you can think how much more information the sphere is than just the poles of up and down, basically. But so similarly to any quantities that a quantum mechanical object might have, So the particle has all kinds of properties the same time, like you'd have all the colors the same time for a object, or the smooth at the same time, kind of like in this artistic representation when the object is in a superposition. So usually we handle these objects and describe them mathematically by including all of these properties into this wave function that we call it mathematically. Something we might be able to write down and handle computationally and simulate even is what this gives us. So using the mathematical formalism, we are able to connect quantum physics to a game, for example. And one more concept here, what is special about quantum mechanical objects is entanglement. So it means that two or more quantum particles may be intrinsically correlated, no matter what the distance is between them. So correlated in a way of they are acting together somehow. It might be after two particles hit each other, they could become entangled and behave together after that in a way. And what is particularly cool and intriguing about this is that we may take one of these particles that is entangled with the other as far as we want, somewhere far away in space, for example. And if we then measure the one that we have with us here on Earth, quantum theory guarantees that this correlation holds, and we were able to get information about the faraway object immediately after the measurement of the one that we have here. So you can imagine what this does for communication, for example. And although Einstein told us that information doesn't travel faster than light, and he called this phenomenon as the spooky action at a distance, there is nothing spooky about it and nothing to be scared of in a way other than anything else here. But it's just an example of the quirkiness and wonders of quantum physics in a way. And then something I want to present here is also the double slit experiment. So this is an experiment where you have this kind of arrangement, a setup. We have a laser, here's a cool laser gun on the bottom of the screen, pointing at an obstacle, and then at the end of it there's a screen that the laser then hits after running through the obstacle. And the obstacle has tiny little holes in it. So very small holes, so the picture looks a bit different, but in practice they are tiny little holes. And the laser light is aimed at the object. Now with light waves, the same thing happens when water waves, for example, would hit a similar obstacle. Each slit, each of these holes, they act as a new wave source. And so they start building up like this. And the wave fronts go further. And then they also hit each other and they are accumulated in a certain way. So that at the end, at the screen, we get this build-up of these high waves. So that's something classical, that's something not that different. But what about these single photons then? What happens if we shoot one photon or one electron at a time? We could do a hypothesis, and so if we had a similar, a bit bigger setup with tennis balls and we dip them into paint and start like aiming at our huge slits, like throwing them towards the screen. What would happen is that whenever the ball actually gets through one of these slits, it would hit the screen and make a tiny little paint mark. So we can do this one at a time, do more and more, and we would end up with basically two lines at the wall, right? It seems really plausible, and this is what would happen if we had classical objects hitting a double slit. But what about the single photon then? So if we make the lasers so that we'll all just shoot one single photon at a time, one little particle of light, or even electrons or anything like that. What actually happens when you go to the lab and do it, you still get this same pattern that we got from waves. So, and we get the similar result for electrons, even small molecules. And this pattern still refers to interference, although there's only one single particle shot at a time. And for electrons, for example, and small molecules, we would shoot one at a time, so still it accumulates to this pattern of what we saw also for the light and for the waves, like water waves even. So this is where one should stop for a bit. A single particle passes the slits at a time, and pattern describing interference appears. What is the particle interfering with? The only answer to this is that the single particle is interfering with itself when it passes these slits, like this. And it's important to remember and understand that this experiment is that this pattern is something more than just something that you might build or draft together from the pieces of the separate slit experiments, for example. It gives something more than the classical situation. The particle passing two slits is intrinsically something more, something completely new in comparison. The particle is somehow superposed between these two possibilities of going either of the slits. So a single particle, so to say, and therefore this gives us something more. And what happens here is also rather philosophical here in between. We could have a lot of time to talk about it, but also, again, don't stress too much about handling all this. I will remind you that not everyone needs to be a quantum expert. When you form your team, find someone who is or knows quantum programming, for example, or ask the mentors that we have on our Discord.
And inspire those quantum experts to tell you more about quantum physics. Ask questions, inspire them to think something that they might not think.
Exactly. And you can use the voice channels also on Discord. Small reminders if you listen to Anna-Kaisa's talk earlier about game developing at a quantum game jam, bringing it into a really short notes. The jam happens in a very short time span relatively to actual game development, but the process itself should follow the same principles. So if you don't remember anything else, just remember to test your game and iterate kind of like the process of the game development, which is shown here shortly. So after this talk, we'll reveal the theme for this game jam, for which you can start the process of developing game ideas around. We'll do that together. We'll move to Discord. So we'll first start by brainstorming. Then you need to identify the connection in quantum physics in your game and decide on the design. So don't spend too much time on figuring out what the thing is that you are aiming to do, but start already developing as well. Remember the prototype and playtest and build the game. Now it's very important that you write down what the original idea was, for example, so that you remember it also later on and make the decision to keep the idea or move it somehow. And iterate this process. After you playtest, just go again, identify what is again the connection to quantum physics. Am I maybe aiming too high? Should I go something with a little less? Think about it and talk. And again, iterate the process. And when it comes to practicalities, we will offer the teams both text and voice channels. And please keep most of the discussion over there so that it's easier for our mentors also to come and help and comment when they can see the conversation. You're also able to share the screen through Discord, and you might also need still some extra tools. Spend enough time for planning the game and the structure, plan the connection, and write it down somewhere. Maybe you should share a Google Doc, for example. Agree upon the team who will do what. How do you arrange it so that your team is able to meet regularly through this weekend, so that you won't miss each other? And how will you distribute the project? Who is in charge of what and responsible of doing what by then? So, and is everyone, for example, used to coding on GitHub? That might make it easier. And if not, then again, remember, not everyone needs to be a game expert or highly professional programmer, for example. There are some tiny tools that you can use even if you don't know how to program. But find someone with game development or programming background in your team, and again, use our mentors.
Just a small reminder before the team reveal. Remember to register through separate registration forms form, which is posted everywhere in schedule, in announcements. You can find it. So please register through it. Then what else? What else? I don't know. That's it.
And please remember to register yourself and introduce yourself in the specific channels we have for introductions. Whatever you feel that might be the role that you would be playing and developing in a quantum game, choose that channel that describes that the most. Then we can distribute roles and you'll be able to find each other a little better.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess we can now go to
let us go to reveal the theme. This is the time everyone was waiting and everyone was asking, what's the theme? What's the theme? And now we revealed the theme.
So, ready?
Yeah.
The theme is patterns.
So, as you maybe from this presentation already have seen, that we have a lot of patterns in the slides. We showed you a lot of patterns, interference patterns in physics, and also I will show you, inspiring pictures as well. So, for example, here you can see the pattern of hydrogen electrons. To be more specific, here you see energy levels of electrons, or probability distributions on different energy levels, so where the electron actually is according to quantum mechanics, according to probabilistic nature of quantum mechanics. Then the next one, just to inspire you, is also from physics, from quantum physics. It is Stern-Gerlach experiment. You don't need to know much about it right now, but you can see that there are some patterns there. So maybe if you want to do something related to that, please ask your quantum physicist about it. Next one will be inspired by mathematics, be inspired by functions. Here you can see actually, once again, interference patterns, different interference patterns there for different experiments, but you can see them in mathematical way to represent them in way of functions. So yeah, please, you can use whatever you want. The next one is also inspiration from mathematics, because you don't need to think of patterns only as physics and mathematics or something like that. It can be visual, and here you can see actually both, like mathematics and visual there. So these are fractals which are on these pictures. The next one, you can be inspired by your hero, which patterns your hero in a game takes. And here is actually a picture of multiverse of Marvel, but you can be inspired by whatever you want, by multiverse, by actually philosophical question in quantum physics, if there is a multiverse, and actually quantum mechanics explains it. It can be also related to quantum physics, it can be not related to quantum physics. Be inspired by anything. You can think of patterns in many different ways. You can think of them only visually. So for example, include in your game some nice patterns, include in your game some crazy patterns. So please, be inspired by this theme as much as you like. Remember to include in your game also quantum physics somehow, but these patterns, they don't need to be related to quantum physics. They can be related to anything you want, to your story, to your visuals, to your audio, to whatever you want. Yes, and now actually there will be a good time for us to start maybe brainstorming of ideas. Yes, so here is how it works. Now we need to go to the channel Brainstorm in our Discord server, and please write just a comment there about the first ideas that came to your mind when I presented you the theme. So whatever you have in mind, please let us write and brainstorm together there.
And again, remember, you can build up on someone else's idea, comment on it or anything like that. At this point, just let the ideas be crazy even, and comment kind of like whatever comes into your mind. We will now develop kind of like the ideas and pitch the actual idea a bit later, but now just free talk. Maybe we'll be able also to comment on them. There's already some activity, so like Vishal is saying that enter in your thoughts about the theme here. Exactly, do that. And Antti is proposing already a detective is someone that picks up patterns from mystery.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, because patterns are like you can interpret it the way you want. Like interpret it the way you want. Maybe it is a mystery. Maybe the mystery is then connected to quantum physics. So somehow bring in also the quantum physics then into your game. Like the game idea might be something else. You might find someone who knows about quantum computing, maybe writes a short little Qiskit code for your game. It also already makes the game
yeah,
game.
Of course.
In that sense. So the theme is patterns. What comes into your mind? There was I was presenting the patterns that emerged from the double slit experiment, for example. Something that made those patterns particularly interesting was that although we were using just single particles, single objects, they were still showing us an interference pattern. Although you would expect to see something else, like you would imagine classically seeing, and you got something else. Just pick your brain, what comes into your mind, read what the others are saying. Are there maybe patterns are related to logical connections? Maybe there's a space repetition pattern in ray margin, a suggestion from Henry. So what could it be? What kind of patterns can you find in quantum physics, for example? Daria was also like presenting a lot of ideas. You can even just go and Google the words quantum pattern or something like that. Maybe if you're a physicist or have a background in that, what comes to your mind related to quantum physics and patterns? What comes into your mind of patterns that are not related to quantum physics? Thought patterns, I don't know, patterns in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Behavior patterns. Maybe there might be a game related to behavior somehow. Finding
game
patterns.
Related to your, I don't know, brain functions, how the brain function, and how maybe quantum physics can be mystically related to your
social relationships.
Social relationships, yes, exactly. There might be all kinds of patterns in the world.
Yeah, so music rhythm, yeah, it sounds really nice. Quantum dots, this is true. They are really nice quantum objects, and you can see some patterns there as well. If you know that quantum dot technology is used also for televisions to work for QLEDs and OLEDs, so you can also think of that something.
Mm. But yeah, music is a vast also topic to explore. We're going to have an interesting talk later today. It's going to be, I can't remember the time.
Half past seven. It's going to be at 7:30 Finnish time, so
UTC
plus 3, yeah. And the talk will be about quantum computer music. So here you can also see one inspiration for you. The talk will be after brainstorming, yes, but please go to listen to the talk because you can get some unexpected inspiration to your game there as well.
Exactly. Antti Salo is commenting that pattern is something that can be seen from statistics but not single shot. Exactly like on the double slit experiment when you're shooting the little electrons, for example. But one of the wonders of quantum is that even single shots have it.
Yes, Fourier transforms, behavior patterns, yes, everything. Quantum fractals, yes, please go for it.
Yeah, I want to see some fractals happening somehow related to quantum.
They will be so cool and like even not related to quantum. If you use fractals just as visuals, it would be so nice.
Classical fractals even. Thinking patterns, yes. How does quantum affect your brain to make you think in a certain way, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, Stern Gerlach is also mentioned here.
Puzzle game where you need to create a given pattern controlling two entangled characters, but your control scheme is modified by the current state of the belt state that can be changed in game. This is from Bagin. You must have a background also in physics. You might. So I don't know. Attack that idea and go further with it. Find a team, please.
Pattern saying goodbye, adios whenever measurement enters a room. Yeah, this is actually nice. Yeah, so please go for it. A game can be any kind of a game. It can be funny, totally humoristic game. It can be very serious game, educational game. It can be a story-driven game, visual game, whatever you like. It can be even a card game. I mean, just make prototypes and then send them to us or make a video with them. So, yeah. Anything. Quantum teleportation, yes, this is actually a really good topic. We were even wondering to include it in our theme presentation because there are those kind of patterns how you do a teleportation. It is a protocol which you follow. So yes, please, it is a really good idea.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this yesterday. Like, the problem is how would you, I don't know, use the protocol and explain it without the mathematical formulas? And might you, I don't know, create certain pieces that form a specific pattern when the protocol is met? Like, how would you explain quantum teleportation without mathematics? How would you do it? Is there a nice way to draw little patterns that could be used and connected in a way that explains the entanglement being spread between two particles and the entanglement with that is formed by the measurement with the particle that you have and a control particle, for example? Like, how would you do that and explain it without using the mathematics? That's the challenge. Maybe there's a pattern. I don't know.
Oh yeah, multiplayer stealth game where one of the players gets spotted and all the players are teleported to the location of one of the players. Yeah, why not? Of course. It sounds actually really nice. Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of good talk, but I want to maybe skip this. I think we'll do a small change to the original timetable, but it should be okay. There's such good talk already, so maybe if you have the courage, we could open up a few of the, if you want to talk about some of the ideas, we could open up some of the voice channels for that. But in order to encourage you to pitch your idea in a certain way, we can now use a little time, maybe more than 10 minutes even. Like, think about what is the idea of the game just with maximum two sentences, for example. How would you go and describe your idea of a game? You have time to talk through the voice channels, maybe with someone, ask and request for one. I will open up some of the channels as well later. And you can use this time to brainstorm the idea further and then describe it really easily. Then we can start pitching the actual curated idea pitches at the brainstorming channel. So just use one comment where you first open up the game idea with 1 to 2 sentences. Maybe then you can add some of short description, what else you think could be there, something to start, and think about the game. And then maybe, I don't know, add a picture with the same comment. You can also edit the comment so you don't need to have several comments, but try to use one comment for one idea so that it's easier for the rest of us also to follow. We will then start making new channels that you can occupy and start forming your team to. After we have noticed you suggesting these ideas. And then you can also just listen and react to these ideas as well. We can then help you with the teaming up, but we can now start thinking about how to brainstorm more ideas and how to communicate them to the others. I will open up some of the voice channels.
Yeah, okay. So yes, please write your short description of a game with your idea, of course. And then other people, please comment different emojis there, so we will see who are interested in what ideas. Yes, there are many great ideas already there.
Natasha, do you have open your Discord? Yes.
Oh yes, there are a couple of game ideas already which have hearts there, so you obviously like them. And of course, if you have had already some idea in your mind before the jam, please write it down as well. Include somehow patterns there and quantum physics, and yes, please go with it as well. Okay, so I see at least 4, 5 clear game ideas. Well, game idea, please tell me if there are more. So game idea of Mark, a game where you explore a room with a number of colored torches to try and find certain objects in the room. But each light will only partially reveal the objects and obstacles in the room. Yes, yes, sure. Then another one, coordination game where multiple people need to show a different card to win without communication for the team to win. Yes, yes, really nice game, like kind of silent game. Then provide a quantum source to make indirect collusion possible. The idea proposed by Antti, the idea proposed by Oksana. Game story. Human thoughts are quantum. Some thoughts interfere constructively and become spoken phrases, and some identifies destructively and remains silent. Yes, this is nice. Then, Antonio, a pattern could be transformed into another, changing the point of view. Yes, yes, good idea. If you want to elaborate more somehow, or formulate it to a better, so to say, game idea, you can edit your comment as well. Then Surabi, there is this topic of finding if someone is stealing information when you are communicating with a partner with different bases. Yes, Alice and Bob, so quantum encryption protocol and the Eve. Yes, and the Eve tries to steal this information. Something can be planned based on it. Yes, although I can think of ways to introduce patterns in it. Oh, why don't you? Because there are actually pretty easy patterns there. There is always this communication channel between Alice and Bob, and then there is somehow trying to interrupt the channel. So there is kind of this pattern present there. It is this communication channel. Yes, and then Abdullah tells about an Among Us game. Remember that it should be also related to quantum physics somehow? Yes? Yashasvini HM is writing that a game idea where the hero acts as third party to teleport qubit into from one point to other by following the proper teleportation pattern. So yeah, a teleportation pattern. Yes, yes. Why not? Really nice. Then Antti suggested text adventure game. Text adventure. This is actually really nice. We don't have that many text-based quantum games yet. So text adventure game where instead of the past remaining the same, periodically the text changes to different component state of a superposition. Yes. Then you input a command and it gets executed in all the scenarios. Yeah, it would be really cool. Also remember that this should be done in a weekend, so please think of how realistic is this one, but it sounds really, really, really nice, of course. Yeah, Abdullah also suggested a spaceship game with a Martian Avengers theme of Infinity Stone. Yes. Once again, please comment if you like the stealth game where you need to avoid the collapsed wave function of something by observing, interacting with it in some way. Yeah. Spaghettificated wrote this one. Yes. Yes, and then you are also already commenting to some game ideas. So for example, this Among Us now has a quantum theme in it as well. So you can use quantum teleportation protocol there. Yeah, why not? Petra suggested a game where you have a grid of pixels and at each step you entangle some number of pixels to be in some color and put it in a superposition with the previous state. In the end, you perform measurements and see the resulting patterns. Yes, really nice and also visually nice, I think so. Please put smiles there if you like this game idea. There are also already games which have pretty much smiles there. Just remember to put this to add emojis there if you like some idea. Chat comments suggests racing game based on quantum principles like Hong-O mental effect. Oh yes, you can elaborate it more for people not knowing quantum mechanics that much. The patterns will be used to guide the participants. Yes, yes, sure. It sounds really nice and especially me, I like it. Bye.
Hello everyone, and nice to see you all here. My name is Natasha Skult. I'm here on behalf of IGDA Future, IGDA Finland, and once again, huge welcome to especially those who first time participate at the Quantum Game Jam. So just one more technical note in our Discord. We just created text and voice channels for all the teams, so just let us know which team would like which number basically of the rooms, so that you would have your own space for developing the games. And also if we need more rooms and more channels, especially voice channels, just ask, we will create as many as you need. So more games the better, so therefore just let us know how we can support you. But just wanted to make sure that we also say here as well, pick the number of the room, let us know so we can put your team name or your game name, and it's all yours to use. So yeah, that's all from me for now. So back to Daria. Thank you.
Yes, thank you really much. And yeah, just occupy, as it was said, just occupy channels and write there your game idea. Once again, the first message, your game idea, so it would be clear which game it is. And then, yeah, and then please collect yourself a team. And when you commented with emojis different game ideas, now check the team channels for these ideas, so you can start combining a team there.
I have to take this. It's sure. Can't see my screen. Let's see.
So yeah, soon we will be in, or we are already in teaming, but soon you will maybe get better instructions.
So now, maybe it has a more clear instructions now on the screen. So we have commented our ideas at the brainstorming. This, thank you. So now, if you notice that some of the ideas are really great that you proposed, and you really want to do that game, go pick one of the team rooms. Just comment your idea again on the top of the conversation, and go ahead with that. We can then rename the channels according to what the game idea is, so that it's a bit easier to find the ideas and the themes. So take with you your game idea, comment it on one of the channels that are still free. We will start renaming them hopefully soon. So go to the 2022 version, so that you're not accidentally on their old channels, please. So comment on, there's like team 1, team 2, they don't yet have any specific names. Pick a channel, comment your game idea.
Yes, so please notice that there is already something happening in team 1, team 2, team 3, team 5, no. Oh, wait a second, there are 2 team 5s, yeah, so one of them, there is something happening there. Team 7 as well, yeah.
So we will rename them. But now, you can continue with the brainstorming if it feels like something you like. You can also pick some of the voice channels if you feel it's easier for you to discuss the brainstorming. So you can now start teaming up in the way that just join one of the channels that already has an idea if you don't want to propose your own. Browse the text channels. What team does not seem to have any people in it, or just start one by yourself and start waiting who else comes in. You can change the first comment the idea of the game, if there are changes, to make it more clear for whoever joins the channel to check that comment. So when you come inside to the channel, first introduce what roles are you able to fill in. Comment, or then leave your comment if you're occupied in some else, like some of the other projects. So you can go up and offer yourself to multiple teams if you want to. Just make sure that at some point you delete the other comments so that the other people won't be expecting you to be also in their team. And then you can use and occupy a voice channel together with your team, just to make sure you know who is there, what other talents you might need. You might also just directly connect to someone who has introduced themselves, or you can just, maybe pin them on your channel. You can browse through the introductions and see if there are people there who seem like they have the talents that you need in your team. So go pick their nickname, take it to your channel and ping them there so that they can find you and your game idea. You can also use the looking for talent for this. And if there are questions, we have the help desk available on Discord.
There's one question in the chat asking when do we have a break?
You can have a break when you feel like it. But that's the thing about game jams, that there might not be that many chances for breaks. You can go and have a break now and then come back and see what team seems like something that you'd like to take upon. Or you can leave a comment on one of the empty channels, suggest your game idea, and then just tell that you'll be back in whatever 5, 10, 15 minutes or so.
Yes, and please pin people. So yes, if you have occupied team 1 channel and you saw that someone else were interested in your idea, please pin this person to your team channel. And do it in every team. So yes, and please go everyone. I see there are a lot of people in Brainstorming channel, so please go check different team channels now, because then you can combine your teams. Yes.
This was the original.
Yes, and a lot of motion happens in team 2. There is Abdullah, Surabi, and Rajar. Well, I'm not sure what is the name of the person right now. Or Raja. No, I don't know really. Yeah. Okay, so please. Check also team number 8, team number 10. There are these new ideas there. Team number 7, yes. Team number 5, yes. Yes. And also, if you have occupied any team channel, you can also pin there some talents that you need. If you need quantum physicists, you can pin there quantum physicists. If you need programmers, you can pin programmers, or you can check from introductions different people, what they do, what they know, and you can pin them.
I'll make 5 more channels if more ideas are coming.
Yeah. So yeah, but how are you feeling about this? Your ideas about everything? So what are your feelings? If you want, you can also write something just in a chat channel, in a lounge, if you want to. yes, the thing is that, of course, you remember that the maximum of participants in a team is 5. This is due to the fact that then you will be able to continue in hackathon if you want to. And also, if there are more people than 5, then it's just hard to manage such a big team over Zoom with all time zones and things like that. Let's check teams number 4, team number 1, team number 3, team number 5, team number 7, team number 8, team number 10. So yes, please check them out. There are people there who are waiting for talents. In brainstorming, there is an idea about quantum version of Angry Birds. Yes. So please, you can start your own team, and if someone is interested, you can join that team, or additionally, you can combine your idea with someone else who has already presented the idea, and you can start to develop something in between together. Yes, of course, and a reminder that this game jam, and it is like, yeah, not only this game jam, but I think that many others, like any level is enough. You don't need to be expert in anything. You can make any kind of game using any tool. You can make like physical game, I don't know, table board game, whatever you like. So like no pressure if you feel like in your team there is lack of programming talents or there is lack of some other talents. You can survive, you can do whatever you want. You just need to modify your game slightly differently than maybe. Just think creatively. Everything can be done. Everything. Yes, and if you were somehow left alone with your project, you can either check what is happening with other teams and team up with other people who are also alone, or you can lure people to your channel by writing their names there, inviting them, asking maybe in brainstorm once again who wants to do something together. So yes. So once again, check out team number 10, team number 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, team number 3, and team number 1. There is a question if you can present physical game. Yes, you can present a physical game and share video of it. Yes, totally. You can make interactive piece of art or like, yeah, there are no limits with your imagination. And actually it would be really good solution for this game jam to do also a physical game, because then you wouldn't need skills that you don't have, but please still try to form a team, because it is of course nicer to brainstorm things together with someone, but of course everything can be done also solo if you want to. All projects can be done solo. So the number of team members goes from 1 to 5. Yes, from 1 to 5. Anything goes. And also remember that in theory, if you want to, you can be a part of a couple of teams if you are able to do it like that, of course. And for example, different musicians and artists, there are usually a part of a couple of teams and not only one team. Yeah, it is also possible. If you need some help, remember always to tell us that you are in need.
So meanwhile, Daria goes and chats a bit with Natasha about unrelated things. Once it seems that you already have a team of at least 2 people or so, or even if you don't have that, I have posted a link on the schedule channel. So it's basically an Excel sheet where you can fill in kind of like the game idea and whether or not you're missing someone from your team. If there's certain talent that you still need or anything like that. It's just a way to help a bit to find kind of like the rest of your teammates, or maybe, I don't know, a musician that could help you at some point. Usually what happens is that there might be one musician who's doing the music for several teams, and they might be doing it maybe on Saturday or even Sunday morning, I've seen sometimes. But you can find the link again on the schedule channel. So you can fill in the team info now or later if there's someone missing later on. You can then name your team over there, and with that we are able to update kind of like your channel names as well if you want to. And also write down a contact person by the end of tomorrow at least. Because then on the last day, on Sunday, we're going to present all the games. So we need someone who's kind of like representing your team. So we want that information at some point. Please also use the voice channels available over there for your brainstorming. It might sometimes be easier to talk about the ideas that you have instead of just writing text. And in your voice channel, you're also able to share your screen. So please use pictures, use, I don't know, theme ideas, or use whatever you find on the internet. Draw something on your computer to explain what your idea is about. Go crazy with the ideas, and go crazy with using pictures. And if you do use pictures, maybe remember to take a screenshot and share it also to the channel or a Google Doc that you might have. So just in case, to keep everyone on the same table. And if there's, like, what I've learned is that if there is something happening negative in the team, it's usually related to communication. So please don't rely only on the text and only on the chat. Make sure that you have, for example, a Google Sheet somewhere or Google document where you explain the idea and update that so that everyone is on the same table. Use pictures and use the voice channels. You can even use a Zoom call just for yourselves if you want to. But the good thing about keeping the conversation and also the voice chatting on Discord is that you can then invite some of the mentors to join, or even one of us. So these are the main notes that I can make. Fill in the team info when you feel like it. It might help you find someone to your team if it doesn't seem plausible through Discord. But it's also easy for us to see what is happening and then renaming your team channel and for things like that. If you come up with that name for the team, write it down to that info sheet. And remember to let us know about your contact person so that when you are representing your games on Sunday, we know who to call, so to say. Use a lot of time for brainstorming. Daria, do you have any other comments you would like to make now? But also remember to start developing the game at some point, because this is not a long time that you can use for developing the game. You need to stop on Sunday, 2 p.m. our time, so maybe check the Google Calendar if you're not sure what the time is in your local time zone. And make sure that all your teammates know when you are available and when you might not be.
Yeah, one thing to remember that these certificates, so yes, of course, out of making a game and out of submitting a game, you will get a certificate for participation in Quantum Game Jam, but you will also get a certificate out of listening to all talks. So please remember that, and remember that now during the evening, like in a couple of hours, we will have a talk by Professor about quantum computer music. So it will be really nice and really interesting one. So yeah, please join it and listen to it and get inspired by it as well. And then tomorrow there will be a series of talks also to listen to, like kind of many talks but not too many, so you will be able to listen to them and also have time for your game development.
Yeah.
Yes.
And most of them are also being recorded, right?
Yes,
Yes.
tomorrow, like, all the talks are recorded actually. The one which is not recorded is the talk of this evening by Professor Eduardo.
Yeah. And it will be streamed again using this same chain, so we'll be using this same streaming channel for all the streams. So even if you leave it open for the rest of the weekend, you will always find us from here.
Yeah.
And do join the talk today. It's going to be really interesting. So what can it be? Like music using quantum computers. It's something really new, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll learn how to do it yourself as well if you listen to the talk. Hopefully, at least. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah.
So again, the talk later today is not being recorded. We'll add a new event just for that on Discord so that you will remember to join, and we'll add the events also for the talks tomorrow, the deadline on Sunday, and then again presentations on Sunday.
Yes, and we will update and schedule everything. So right now you have your time to team up to start brainstorming, continue brainstorming, start developing a game like in the schedule you are comfortable with, but remember to start developing like tomorrow at latest, yes, and then listen to one more talk today, and then yeah, everything is up to you, and we will write everything in schedule.
And communicate with your team members. Also use pictures. I think we're going to silence ourselves for now, but we'll
For
keep
some time.
for some time, at least, until we have the talk later today. And follow the schedule channel to make sure that you know what's happening, and we'll add the events as well.
Yeah, yeah, sure.